That's a lot of abstracts.
There's never enough abstracts.
My mind has become a prism of thoughts and ideas.
You're just tired. Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vessel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
Today we're taking a look at 5 different abstract strategy games, all which actually came out this year at the Spiel Fair in Essen, Germany. 3 from the same company, Gerhard's, who makes games that come in plain brown boxes. But then I also found a game that came in a plain white box.
And this one comes in a real box. I'm a real box.
This one looks like
I'm a real box of chocolates.
Yeah, truffles, Dama. So, yeah, they're all, well, I was going to say 2-player abstract games, but actually 2 of them are not.
That's right, which is the exception to the rule generally, but here we got a couple of them. So are we digging into these?
Yeah, grab one.
Okay, let's start right here.
All right.
We're going to start with the simplest, the oldest of them all. I think this is the simplest, but it's also based on checkers or drafts if you're from the UK. This is a variant of that from somewhere else in the world.
It is not particularly a good rules right, unfortunately. In fact, we had to go and look up the actual, since it's an actual old game, look up the rules for that, because the rules in this box, in particular, the whatever they called the kings,
crowning or whatever,
was not easy. But this one was, of all the games we're talking about today, this one was for me the most disappointing because it's a gorgeous production.
Yes.
Great board, great pieces. This is one you leave out on your coffee table and people come by and they play it, but it's worse than checkers.
It is a variant of checkers, which to me, and I guess this is what you're saying, feels worse than the variant I know of checkers. This feels like a more boring variant of the same idea.
Once a piece is crowned, it's unbelievably powerful.
Yes, right.
Compare this to, let's say you're playing checkers, and if I get a piece on the other side of the board, it now becomes a queen from chess.
Except it still only moves diagonally, though.
Sure, but it's still pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And checkers, I don't find to be that interesting anymore. I get it's the 2 old men, which we're turning into soon.
Yeah.
You know, sitting in the back of the general store where we get to mock everyone who comes in while we're playing checkers.
Yeah.
But
this is one that, again, and it also hurts that the box is so big and lavish. The pieces look shiny on the box, and they're not shiny. They're kind of like matte wooden colors. I don't know. This one was a disappointment for me. I was really expecting here something otherworldly, and sometimes you can come across a game from another place in the world that you're not aware of.
Yes.
And it feels great to discover a classic. This one didn't feel that way to me. I'm giving this a 4. I was disappointed by
also a 4 from me. So that's Dama.
Dama. Go, you pick.
All right, so now we have this one here. Now, this is kind of an odd one because this is definitely, every once in a while, you find a game that nobody else has talked about or even seen. And this is the case because there's only 250 of these in the world.
Oh, Mr. Tom Vass was a big deal.
And
How many of these do you own?
1. Oh. I would have probably passed it by, but what makes this game fascinating is, and I saw it comes with these devices that are going to pick up plastic pieces magnetically and rotate them. And that alone made me at least want to play it and try it out.
It's a very cool gimmick, and the ejector grabby thing is pretty good. It works very well.
It does work really well. Again, as we said before with the last game, this game has some pretty unclear rules. And I'm just going to be out there. I like this game, actually. But it feels like there's one too many rules. So you need to connect. So the magnet's the gimmick. We get the magnet.
Right.
Is the game fun? You're picking up 4 pieces and spinning them. Okay, that's a lot of fun to do, but is the game interesting? And abstract strategy games have only so many different things. Capture your opponent's pieces, capture their king.
Sure.
Make a line across the board. That's what I consider this one to be, sort of.
Yes.
But that's make a line across the board and surround your opponent's pieces.
Yes.
And if you make a full line of your color, you can flip a piece that's still your color, but now can't be moved by your opponent unless they have a piece like that. And it's like, oh man, I would have cut that one rule or something, you know?
I do like the idea of a game in which you're rotating entire sections, but you can lock pieces that not lock them, but your opponent can't mess with them. That's the more clever rule in here.
I'm not saying it's a bad rule.
I would have kept that rule. It's just it's trying to play like 3 different abstract games at once.
Like surrounding your opponent's checkpoint and connecting it.
Yeah.
Feels like, and I'm not even saying I know a way to fix it, but or having a whole line and then you flip one. Again, a very clear set of rules would probably have helped. This game is mostly in German. I have a translation of the rules.
Right.
But, man, the quality, I was not expecting a nice piece of plastic with this piece that works as advertised. It's very satisfying to pick up the pieces and spin them. And even a little drop a piece in between to show where your opponent can't go next turn. Because it's like in most abstract games, you can't undo the move that was just made. That's the only rule, really, in that regard.
I do like that they included a piece for that express purpose.
Yeah, and it's clever because you drop it through the piece and you're like, it sits there.
No, it works pretty well. For me, I found the game to be, like you said, a little muddy, a little... It needs some clarity, and while the gimmick is wonderful, the gameplay I thought was merely all right. I'm giving this one a 5.
Oh, much higher than that. It's 6.5 for me. Okay. This one's almost there. I think better production, better rule set would help a lot. Mm-hmm. And also maybe a basic and advanced version, and I could mess with that some. I don't know if this will get picked up. Abstract strategy games tend to not be published by big publishers, but I'll give them major points for trying something new, though. Yes. So, Rotodo. And now
What's
there were
next?
3.
I'm next. Let's go with this one.
This was on my list of most anticipated games coming out at the fair.
Look at it. That's the reason. Look at that. It's like a wooden staircase splay the pieces thing. It looks like a Rolodex.
Kids, look it up. These existed. Yeah, unfortunately, the piece for this stairs, as cool as that is, could have used one small addition of maybe a place for the steps to stop.
Yeah.
Like where you just open it, it's done. You actually have to kind of mess with it a bit to make sure the steps are all kind of the same size.
You do, and they don't need to be the same size, but they need to all be usable. And it's a tricky. You'll fiddle with this quite a bit before you start, and then after you get going with the game, which is again, this company generally makes fun, interesting, generally 2-player abstract games, like Perfect Information abstract games. We spread it out, we set it all up, and we're like, oh, this looks really cool. Put the pieces out, and then we realized this is like a roll and move type game.
And it requires more than 2 players.
It's kind of Parcheesi, in which you pick a piece, you roll the dice. If you land on somebody else, you knock them back, or you knock yourself back if you roll something you don't want. There's a dragon dropping eggs, but it really doesn't happen a whole lot. You're mostly just rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling, trying to get up here.
But there's no real impetus to how you play the game. If you have 3 people on the same step, you knock off the first person who has come there.
Right.
So you do it, but you don't get to choose. So you mentioned Parcheesi. With Parcheesi, you roll dice and then you decide which of your pieces to move. This game has a really weird rule that you point to the piece first.
Yeah.
Then you roll the die. I don't know what I'm going to roll, so it's really random. Mm-hmm. They talk about push your luck. Like, well, you could pick the highest piece and then they'll fall down farther. But that's going to happen anyway.
Right.
There's no reason to not pick your highest pieces or whatever and then hope the eggs come and then I'm behind you. And this was a really big disappointment for me. This one here is like a 4. And that's with the nice pieces and everything. It just doesn't... It's so lucky. But it's not lucky in like a silly way. Mm-hmm. I think it's meant to be lucky, like there's a dragon flying and people falling down the stairs. And honestly, if the game had a mechanism where you tip the person and they rolled down the stairs, I'd probably give it a 1 point higher because that would be funny. You know, like a ball bouncing down the stairs or something. But there's none of that here, and this feels like they found the gimmick of the stairs and said, well, we can produce this, and then made the game. It's
And
not
the game
abstract
is-
strategy. It's like a Hasbro child's toy game.
Yeah, it really. Maybe there's some indicator on the box that I don't see that explains that visually should tell me like, hey, this is really for little kids. It's a 6+ 3 to 6 players. But to me, it was the only fun I had with this game was laughing at the game. Yeah, and we had some good laughs, but it was all not because of the game. It was directly at the game. This one gets a 3 from me. Woo. It's really not something I can recommend, especially because it's probably a fairly expensive toy to find. Just get Chutes and Ladders, honestly. Like, you're not missing anything. Get Parcheesi if you want to try an old world game. This is not something I can recommend. You're going to spend a lot of money on something that looks really cool. Unless you want to buy this and, like, display it, and then you're not buying a game. You're buying a piece of, decoration. This is not a game you should pursue. Yeah, 3 for me.
That is Drachentreppe, I think it's called.
That is Drachentreppe. What's next?
Well, now we have Wippe-Lig, and this is the game that I'm
Wippe-Lig good.
We have the most
Ding.
disagreement on this.
Okay.
This is a game, again, abstract games. So, abstract games come with a gimmick,
Yes.
and then a basic way to win.
Yes.
So the basic way to win in this one is get a bunch in a row, 3 or 4 in a row. The gimmick, though, is every time you put pieces in, you tilt it, and they all roll, which will likely put them in different positions.
Yes.
And so the closest I can compare this to would be games like Pentago, where you put a piece in and then rotate it. You're like, whoa, the board just changed. I thought I wasn't going to win at all, and now I just won.
Okay.
And this has that same type of thing, except, oddly enough, this one is, maybe it's me, I can't see this game. I can't, I have a hard time visualizing. I have to think for a while. If we roll this, the pieces will look like this.
Right. The problem is, my issue with the game is that you can do that. You just take your time and you do it. You can, if you want to, you can, before you tip it, you can see it in your head the other way. You can do that. It might take you a minute. It might take you 2. You can do that. That's my problem. When a game is, when the joke, the gimmick is something that you can sit there and brute solve, then either you play well and everyone has a miserable time, or you don't and then you lost because you didn't take the time to play well.
That doesn't bother me. By the way, it's more than just a one-off because also rows will have different numbers in them.
Well, I know, but you just count from the side facing the slope.
Sure, but if there's 5 and 3, there's gonna, when they land on this side, they'll be 2 or 3 off from where they were on the other side.
Sure, yes.
I don't know. Yes, I realize you could play this really seriously. I'm just amused by it. I find it to be fun. This is a 7 for me. Yes, I will admit, them rolling down makes me happy.
It is a fun, it's a really
It's very satisfying.
It's super well made. This seesaw thing is just neat. I don't dislike this one. I also don't have as hard of a time seeing it. But you're right. It's a fun bit to mess with. And the rules in this are super clear. It gets thumbs up from that. Because I know exactly what the rules are. You had the stinking thing somewhere, boom. Did you line up something? You won. You didn't? It's the next player's turn. I like that. And it's multiplayer, too. So this one gets a 6 for me. I don't love it. I think it's a neat abstract game. Definitely one to also leave on the coffee table. Just because it's
I really would.
You can just play with this.
People are going to walk by and all they're going to do is tip it.
Just
it's
tip
like
it
those
and go
sand
brrr.
things where you flip them upside down and all the sand falls
Yes.
down.
But then if they're playing with it, you can be like, you want me to show you how that works? It's a game too. So it gets some points from that, from the production, from the attractive level of it. So yeah, 6 and a 7 for you. All right, and then we've got here Blütentanz, which is this one right here, a 2-player only game, more the traditional abstract game that I expect from Gerhardt's. And in this one, you are making you're putting out your pieces. You're trying to get them across the table, but you are spinning these circles that they are sitting on and you can only touch your own color or gray, which works for both of us, right?
Yeah, so the gimmick is spinning, and then the basic is it's a race game, essentially, to get your pieces across, like Parcheesi-esque race. My only problem with this one, component-wise, is it's a beautiful-looking game. It's one of the few that looked better in person than it looked in the box cover.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a very, very attractive game.
This was, of the three they came out with this year, this was the one I was least interested in, and it ended up being the one I enjoyed the most. But the spinning the discs, I wish, was slightly easier. It's not that big of a deal. But when the pieces are on them, that's all. It's easy to knock them off.
Yeah, no, it is a little tricky. You do quite a bit. You have to spin 4 of these discs every turn. So you're right. It's a little annoying. I guess I like mechanically what's going on in this one. It sort of feels like a weird, twisty Chinese checkers kind of thing, trying to get across.
A bit.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily jumping over pieces.
You're not, right.
You're trying to move through... Well, the things, and so when you spin the 4, it's a pretty good thing that I'm trying to spin ones that are going to help me, but also stop my opponent. Because at the beginning, it does have that Chinese checkers flow where you're moving pieces, there's not a lot blocking, and suddenly everything in the middle is blocking each other. And you realize, oh my goodness, I can't make one mistake here because I need to beat my opponent. Because I would imagine most games of this will be close.
Right. I also like that when you spin the discs, the rules for this are very clean. You pick a row or a column, you spin them all clockwise, 1 click. Then you move whatever it was, 3 steps or whatever. And you can spread that across, the other ones. But it's just so... It really gets out of its own way, this game. I thought that was impressive, that it didn't get it didn't grind to a halt, it didn't kind of clutch at any one point.
Yeah, I thought it would, and it did not.
It didn't. It worked well, and it also has a really nice cadence and pace. Like, it ends when you're ready for it to end. It wasn't too short. That's another thing that sometimes bites me when I play these abstracts is you're just getting into the groove, and bam, game's over, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, let's try again, but that was unsatisfactory. This one wasn't. It had a good length. Yeah, for me, this is the best of the bunch. I'm giving this one a 7. I like this one.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And it's one I would recommend to, again, it's like a kids can play it too.
Yeah.
Very basic but good. Just a few rules, but that's all you need to make a game good.
Basic but good. I like that.
That's Blütentanz.
What are you giving it? You haven't said.
A 7. Sorry. A 7
We're both
also.
giving it a 7.
You're
basic, but you good.
Alrighty, well, that's 5 different abstract games. We agreed on 1, disagreed on 1, and then we gave 3 not super high ratings. But you know what? Abstracts kind of hold them to a higher standard. Because they have such few rules, you got to be good out the gate.
I agree. There is something there, and there's such gorgeous productions behind them. I expect these to be tremendous and elegant. And
that being said, Gerhard's will make 3 new games next year, and I'm going to get them all.
Yeah.
I always do, because their production is... They are the unsung heroes of the abstract world to some degree. Every year they come out with some games.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. I'm Tom Bassel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
And that's 5, 6? I don't know. A bunch of abstracts.
Abstracts. You're basic.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.
Looks really clean and lovely and well put together. The second thing that caught my eye was that it looks like Wingspan.
Yeah, it definitely feels bigger than a deck of cards.
Yeah.